was younger. My dad, he meant the world to me. I was about 8 or 9. And he was having a party. And I didn't want to be without him, so instead of sleeping in my room, I decided to sleep in his office space. That was like near the party. And I remember falling asleep. And it had to be probably like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I just remember waking up. I just remember waking up to him touching me.
Oh,
And I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of lay there and I pretended to be asleep. And I just remember from that moment on, like I was a different person. I wasn't the same. But I was too scared to tell anybody. So it was hard to even accept that it happened. So for a long time I just tried to put it somewhere else. But it got to a point where it was too much. It was too much to not talk about. It was too much to not deal with. So I had to tell my mom. And when I told her, it completely broke her heart.
The first red flag is she didn't remember the age. I was 8 or 9. So what other details are you not certain of? Are you not clear on? How do you know it was 3 or 4 in the morning? She's in his office. The light is off. You're pretending to be asleep. Your eyes are closed. Did you see a silhouette? Is it possible it could have been someone who was at the party and not your father? It was a millisecond. I don't think anybody's coming to touch you for a millisecond or even a minute. And the biggest problem is this was 2006 or 2007, according to the age that she says she was. Robert was being investigated for the tape. He was scared for his life. I don't think he would have done something like this, even under normal conditions, but especially not when all eyes were on him from all investigators or in Illinois and Florida. So this is why you don't put stuff like this in the public domain. The margin for error is just too high.
I struggle with not ever wanting to talk to him again, but then wanting to, because my dad. But I really feel like that 1 millisecond immediately just changed my whole life and changed who I was as a person and changed the sparkle I had and the light that I used to carry. I don't know what else to say.
Did he get in trouble for it? Did he? What happened?
After I told my mom, I had to talk to police and file a report against him and all these other things. And
Sparkle I had, the light I used to carry, those are not words that an 8 or 9-year-old came up with, or even a teenager. Those are words that an adult said to her. And she's repeating it, which then is problematic for the retelling of the story. You don't know that you had a spark at 8, and you don't know that you were carrying a light. So to even say that says somebody planted that in your...
I was in a really hard space mentally, and so I ended up in a mental hospital, psych ward, whatever you want to call it, because I had hit a point in my life where multiple times I had tried to take my own life. I don't want to go, Mom. Like I'm not okay. And that day she called the hospital and she ended up checking me in, and I didn't leave. I was there for about like 2.5 weeks. I was on like really hard suicide watch, and then for like 2-3 months after that, I was like an in and out patient basically. So I had to go there like every day. That's why I went to school, things like that. But that was a really hard point in my life.
When I contemplated suicide, when I tried to kill myself. So I remember I climbed out on the balcony and I looked down. And it was like God allowed me to see my body was laying in blood. And I prayed.
What happened?
The voice of my children, oddly enough, standing on that balcony and hearing their voice. And they would always have that question of, why did Mama leave us? Why did she jump? What happened? Because they were too young to understand.
The math ain't mathin'. One incident when you were 8 or 9 that didn't last long doesn't cause you years later to attempt suicide multiple times and be in a mental hospital. There was, especially me knowing her mother's mental state. So I'm coming into it already having been around Drea a bunch and knowing what I believed of Drea when I knew her, that she had mental problems. So when I hear this from Joanne, it took me right back to when I first met Drea. And I realized Drea had pre-existing mental issues that she passed on to her children. Because it doesn't add up that all these mental problems when she's a teenager, all of that goes back to that one incident with her father. The math ain't mathin'. And this is why you don't put these things out in the public, because you want to be fair to both people. I don't want to not believe her, but I also don't want to accuse Robert of something that he may not have done. So it's just one of those things. That's why you keep this in your family. The biggest problem is she sold this story for money. They're playing nursery rhyme music, which is dark. Everything is geared to make it as sad and dramatic as possible. And her mother I know for a fact has mental illness that predated any problems with Robert. I noticed mental illness in Drea when Joanne was a newborn. And Joanne has mental illness. And both of them want to hold Robert responsible for pre-existing mental illnesses within them. This is so disturbing that they put this out in the public like this, because there's too much here to unravel, and the public has no business trying to dissect this.